Check. Is this uneven? So anyways, as I was saying, that is the secret of miniature painting. And if you missed it, I'm sorry, but never say it again.
That's not true.
That's not true. We're chit-chatting here. There's things going on. Anyways, welcome everybody. I can't see anything, but we do have Liz here, who is running the chat. And did you want to explain?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, first of all, let me take my headphones off so
Hopefully
that I'm
they
not
can
hearing
hear
you talk twice. So for starters, please everyone keep your mics muted and keep your video off. This will help things move along a lot smoother. And there is a chat window at the bottom of the Zoom call or whatever. You can open that up and ask questions in the Zoom chat. I will be answering some if I need to. Also, I will be, relaying those questions out loud. We forgot to do a webinar like we normally do. By we, I mean I. So we just have a regular call right now instead of a webinar for tonight. The other two classes will be done as a webinar, though. So, I think that was all.
That is all. And that was all directed towards our good friend, Chris White. Only. Also, Chris, we will not be asking you for color inspiration this year.
Okay, so long story short.
Just kidding.
Long story short, keep your mics muted, keep your video off, and type in the chat for everything.
Yes, please. And then if we forget, we'll just have people talking in here over me, which will be fun too. Okay, so welcome to Roll to Move 2025. We made it. We're rocking and rolling. This is the speed painting creatures class. I know I've done some speed painting things before. We will be using some speed paints. We will be using some contrast paints. We will be using some paint. So be prepared. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what brand of paint you're using. They all are paint, and just pick the colors you like. There you go. All right. So let me switch my camera. Let me make sure we're recording. We are. Rock and Roll Taco. Can everyone hear me okay? I tried to move my mic up a little bit closer. I don't know. My mic just seems like it's getting quieter and quieter over the years. So... yeah, it's probably okay.
Thumbs up.
Check. No echoing or anything? We're good? All right. Woohoo. Okay, so speed painting. Yeah, we got to paint fast because, I did a tester this morning, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is going to take longer than I thought. But I don't think it will, so let's get rolling on it. Okay, so speed paints. So we all know, contrast paints, Army Painter speed paints, GW contrast paints, kind of work very similarly. I find that some are better than others in each brand. So just like I said, pick the ones you like. This allows us to paint relatively quickly. But of course, most people just put it on over a zenithal highlight or dry brushing, and that's it. And I kind of go a little bit further than that. But you can always just take my beginning steps and then call it right there. But so for right now, we're going to be working on some slashers. And let me switch to my paint cam. Whoa. Okay. I've got a sponge. So normally, let me get my cool little artist opus box out here. Normally, we want a dry brush, and we want to grab a big dry brush. We'll probably be doing a little bit of dry brushing today too. But we're painting slashers, and this is the Jargana one. You can see I have some at the corner of my screen. This was the Jargana one. Let me pull my lights down a little bit. And I I know you've all gotten the box of all the slashers, so you can do all the different color schemes and everything. This is my version of the vampire one. I know it's supposed to be like it's kind of like a whitish color, but I thought this looked super creepy and vampire-y. And I always encourage people, do what you want to do on these things, but I wanted it something kind of close. So that's my vampire slasher, and this is my Gargano slasher. So you notice like I've got the teal. Little, I don't know what these kind of chimneys or whatever the heck they're called. So anyways, I've done these over the years, the last couple years. What we're going to do is we're going to work on this one because this one's so freaking cool. So this is a Slashers of the Deep. And so yeah, we're going to try to do this. Now, if you notice, slashers kind of have this textured skin and everything. And I thought we could just dry brush, but maybe it looks better if we do some sort of stippling or some sponge work. And sponge work is always fun, so let's try that. I'm going to be using these colors to do my sponge work. And let's work on this one because it's kind of like opened up. I made 3 of them. Here's 2. Hopefully I'll get these all painted up. Maybe I'll finish them up at Gen Con or something to get that going. But let's move that up a little bit. Okay, so I did, they're not really conversions. I just didn't put them together in the sockets. Like this one's put together normally. This one is arms are out, and I had to stuff some Aves epoxy sculpt in there to make them have a different pose. I think I even posed the legs a little bit differently. But you can just pose them normally. I mean, all the rest of mine are posed exactly normally, so it's totally cool. Okay, so I did sort of a zenithal prime. I did it with my airbrush before the class, and I made sure to hit areas like see where the yellow is, see where the teal is. I hit those areas a little bit more, and I left like up in the chimneys up here, the smokestacks, I left them a little bit darker. So you can do it however you want, but that's how I kind of start. If you have an airbrush, that's a great way to get rolling on it. If you don't worry about it. Just do a standard like dry brush to get a little bit of white on there, and then we'll go into the stippling. So I've got some pluck foam from like a carrying case, and you can use blister pack foam. Any kind of foam will work. This stuff is good because it's kind of got a small texture to it. And let me get my glasses on so I can see what we're doing. Any questions before we get started? Any answers?
I don't see any yet, at least.
All right.
Chris White does say, hey, jeez, what is wrong with my mouth? Says hello.
Hey. Chris White is my favorite. Yeah, is Chris coming to Gen Con this year? I know he missed last year. Gen Con or Dice Fest? As long as I see one of those, buddy. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take my little bigger one. I have also ripped off a smaller one for getting into the smaller areas, and I will use these tweezers to get into said areas, like if I got to get in down here or something. So let's start with this though, so we can motor through pretty quickly. I'm going to put my sponge into the water of my wet palette. You just want to get your sponge a little bit wet. You want to grab a little bit of the white and a little bit of that warm gray. It doesn't really matter which ones you use. You just want something that shows up. And then I will dab it off, preferably not on my hand, and we'll get started.
By the way, he said he's shooting for Dice Fest, not sure about Gen Con.
Nice. If I had a preference, I would say come to Dice Fest. Because like Gen Con's always like so busy, I never get a chance to sit down and talk with people, and I had a good time with you last year, so I would that's just selfish Aaron talking, but you know, if you can make it to either or both, that's great. Is anyone else out there going to Gen Con or Dice Fest? Will I see?
I'll be at Dice Fest.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And guess what? We'll be freshly married.
We will be.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to kind of get this all over the place. Even I even want it to be down in the dark areas because we're going to put some darker colors down there, some darker uh, contrast paint. And I want there to be some texture down there. So the other thing that I'm doing is I'm kind of just going back over areas maybe a second time, like let them dry a little bit uh, because my sponge is a little bit wet. It will be a little bit more see-through than normal. So that paint will look a lot brighter and then it will tone way down, most likely. So either way, you want to be a real light touch, and it's okay to hit the same areas 2, 3, 4 times. I'll put some down here. I want to get some up on these. What are these called? I keep calling them chimneys. Spires? Smokestacks.
Maybe they're bones?
Well, they got holes on the end, so there's some sort of like...
Porous bones.
They're what?
Porous bones.
Porous bones, yeah. My slasher bones.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Snorkels or nostrils. I mean,
Yeah.
those are...
I mean, it could be the way they breathe, who knows? I don't know. I'm glad that nobody knows. That's almost better than someone knowing and then me feeling stupid, I think.
Also, we got 3 more that are saying that they will be at Dice Fest.
Right on. I'm very excited. Be sure to come up and say hi. Or bye. Maybe you're leaving and you're just like, hey, I got to run by there real quick because Aaron's... Oh, sorry.
You'll be able to call me Liz Lovejoy.
Yeah. Or Liz Lemon if you're a... no. Okay. So get that. Get up in here. I'm starting to feel like I'm running out of room here, and I've already lost my tiny one, but I've got it. I'm also going to grab a little bit of that pale bright yellow. Like a really light yellow like this is a great color for highlighting. Get some areas, like just re-hit some spots like up on top of the head here. Get these areas right here. You can see this goes pretty quickly, but you also can see where like we miss big areas like the side of its body right here. So let's get that. I'll wipe off some of that. Now you can also choose to use like darker colors in the darker areas, but I kind of want stuff to show up because believe me, when we start putting the darker colors on these areas that appear darker, it's going to get really dark. So if you go too dark, all that stuff disappears. So all this extra texture work you did was really for nothing. Like that. Went a little bit on top of these things. It's funny because in the picture, the undersides of these are really, really bright, which is like backwards to highlighting, but that's okay. This is a creature, and they don't obey the laws of light when they're coloring themselves. Get some stuff down here. There, blah, blah, blah. Some areas it's just going to be really, really hard to get into. So, like, if you can't make it, that's totally all right. Get that. I'm going to come back, re-up, kind of with my... If you notice, I'm always grabbing, like, from different pools of color. They're all pretty light, and so I just kind of went different variations of my colors, different tones. And that will help. All of this is going to get covered by paint, so you really can't totally mess it up. I take that back. You could totally mess it up. Believe me, a couple hours ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally messed this up. But then I just kept going, and I was like, oh, that's actually looking pretty cool. So it's always good. One of the key things to painting is to compliment yourself as you go. And that keeps you going. Right, Liz?
That's right.
That's exactly right. I always try to bait Chris to compliment me. I'm like, hey, do you have any compliments for me whenever we see each other? And he usually doesn't. So I don't know if he's just trying to make me try harder, which I do. But no, I'm just kidding. He doesn't do that. And I don't ask him for compliments. But he could give me them if he wanted to. I would feel really empowered, maybe.
John Ball says, do you find that a wet palette works better than a dry palette for this step?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm doing one model right now, but if I was doing all of them, and quite honestly, like, what are there? 5 or 6 different cards in that set. I didn't bring them all, or maybe I did. How many are there? There's 4. Is there more than this? Plus, you've got this one. They're all the same type of creatures, you know. So like you could do this stamping on all of them. Now, if you're doing it on a dry palette, you know, your stamping mixture will start drying up on you. On the wet palette, it will stay a little bit longer. So if you're just doing one, it probably doesn't matter that much. But my wet palette doesn't necessarily put water into the paint, or if it does, it's at a very, very slow rate. So it's just there to keep it wet longer. So you could do it either way, though. It's one of those things, like I always tell my students, this is the way I do it. If you find that it works better, like your setup's different, you don't use a wet palette at all, but you paint like the most amazing painter in the world, that's fine. Like you need to paint the way that's most comfortable for you. So, okay, so we got that. Let me see. Let me get back my reference here. I got my little color reference off to the side. Now I'm going to take my dry brush. So this is an Artist Opus dry brush. And holy moly, did I lose? Where the heck did I put?
Mine?
Yes, I did. Oh. I lost my mind on the other table. All right, this is my dry brushing palette. Also from Artist Opus. So let me dip my brush in some water, and I just kind of put some drips of water on there. And if you're wondering about dry brushing Artist Opus, even if you were to use, like, say, a non-Artist Opus dry brush, like these Morphe brushes, they work great too. If you go to Artist Opus YouTube page, he shows how he does his dry brushing, and he also does demos at conventions and stuff. It's just amazing what he does. So I'm going to grab a little bit of those 2 colors. I usually just kind of mash them onto my palette first. The reason I don't use a paper towel is because that starts drying the paint out in the brush quicker. So I got that. Let me grab a little bit more because I think I got all of it out. You see, it's kind of dry brushing down. What I don't want is all these streaks. So I just keep doing it until the streaks start going away. And sometimes you just got to turn your brush around in different ways. And then I can start dry brushing. Now, I don't want this to be like super, super dry brushed. I just want it to hit those edge details, kind of pull some of them out, maybe soften up some of the stippling that I've done. And I'm using my lightest color because, again, I'm going to be putting other colors over this, and that will tone that way down. So this is my really dark edge right here, but I kind of put a highlight on it. Go to this angle, try to hit some of these edges up in here. Obviously, if you can't get the brush in there, you can go to a smaller dry brush. But I try to do as much as I can with the larger ones. The larger dry brushes seem to work the best. So you can have less paint on your brush, which puts less paint down on the model, but it puts it in a more even fashion. So look at this. Come over here. These little edges. I'll do this back side right here. You see, we're kind of cooking through these first steps. Shoot, if this was just going to be a white one, it might be kind of okay. I mean, obviously, I'm not done, but if you were a minimalist, You could be pretty close to done right now. Put it on a cool like gaming base and call it a day. All right, so get all this in here. I'm gonna try to get up into here. If you notice, like not a lot's going down. Like if you get big streaks on your model, that's not what you want. You want it just a little bit. Now I'm gonna grab a little bit more of this water. This is kind of how I clean my brush out too, in between colors and stuff. If I was just going darker, I'd probably not even bother cleaning it out too much. I'd just go to the next color. But I want to get it a little bit less, and then let's do this. Now, back to the question, do I always put on the wet palette? Not always. Sometimes, like right now, I'm going to put it right on this palette because it's quicker for me to grab from here. And my paintbrush is a little bit wet. Let's grab up here. I want to make, see this little stippling pattern. And you just keep going over, and then you can obviously like smush some paint too, but I'll get my stippling pattern, find an area where I can kind of test it. I think that's pretty good. I'll do some stippling right over what I've been doing. Now this arm right here, I'm also paying attention to what my, I don't have to do it exactly like this, but I kind of like how, see the upper shoulder is like really dark right here. And it's really dark on top of here. So I'm not going to hit this side of the shoulder. I'm going to hit this side of the shoulder with that yellower color. And I find that this yellow, this pale yellow, shows up really well in highlights. So the reason for that is there's yellow in it. So if you want to make your highlights like banging and keep getting brighter, white is not the way to go. You want to go yellow and white. So keep that in mind when you're painting. Colors going closer to the color yellow on the color wheel will appear brighter than the color before them. So red goes to orange, appears brighter than red. Orange goes to yellow, appears brighter than orange. So, and so on. All right, I'm going to get in these kind of real good in the inside of the pinchers here because they're going to get that yellow. I did a really bad job on the inside edges of these, but that's okay. I'm losing my drips of water. So a little drip of water, a little bit more paint. Try to get the paint right in the center of the brush and then move it around so that the brush kind of acts as its own eraser as well. And the key to painting like this is not so much to have like the best paint job in the world at the end, but to have a nice paint job, but fast. So, and the cool thing is there's really nothing you're doing with this technique. Even the dry brushing, it's very thin layers of dry brushing, so it's not gonna mess up if you decide to go full display. You should be okay at the end of the day. Let me wipe out a little bit more paint. I'm gonna hit the inside edges of these whatever we decided they were called. The long arm of the law. I don't know. They're back. I almost said it's a Friday. It's a Thursday. So it's not even Friday. I have no excuses to my...
To be fair, you thought today was Friday all day long.
I did. Which in this case, I would have missed this class, which would have been horrible. I wouldn't have been able to talk to all you fine folk. Okay, so we got that. I'm not going to wash my brush out because I might want to dry brush more a little bit later. And you know what happens when I put this in water? We're kind of done for the day. It's not exactly true, but because I figured out how to bring it back quicker. But if you notice, there's really no more paint on my hand. My brush is nice and soft, so I feel like there's so little paint in there that I can use it later. So I don't need to clean it off completely. Okay, so we got that. We've got a little bit of dry brushing, a little bit more stippling, and now we're gonna start putting color on this. I just discovered this color the other day when I was doing some box art, and this Griff Charger Gray is friggin' amazing. It's like a bluish gray. So let me take this off. What we're going to do is we're going to bring back some of our shadows. So where were our shadows on our picture? Obviously the top of the arm. The back could be shadowed. We don't really see it, so maybe we make it sort of a tealish shadow back in there. The backs of our little chimneys are black. The tops of the arms and down here, so you can kind of see where I want to get some black in there, and then we can also use it to kind of shade up in the top parts. We might wait a little bit for that, but we know that it's coming. So I'm going to get two brushes. One of my brushes, the bigger one, this is actually this is a really nice brush, but right now the tip is rounded. It's not a good detail brush. This one is a good detail brush. You see the difference in the tip? So this brush is dead. It's been used for a lot of box arts, but it's really good for erasing. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put paint on. I'm going to take it off. So I'm going to grab my Griff Charger Gray. Let me get a little bit more up in here. Now, some of these colors, same thing for the speed paints. Some colors are really more opaque, and some colors are really see-through. So if it's really opaque, you might want to I know the blacks and stuff are very opaque. You might want to thin it out a little bit. But in this case, we want it to keep fairly dark. This Griff Charger Gray stays pretty dark, but it's also very see-through. It's a wonderful color. Great properties to have. So I'm going to put a little bit of it down here. Down to the arm. And then I'm going to take my other brush. Make sure it's damp but not wet, and just sort of feather the edge right here. So I'm just looking at basically my zenithal prime at this point and covering it up. I know that the very front of these was a little bit more teal, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Putting this on relatively thick. I'm going to put it over this little, what is that? Horn? A talon. It's something. Come on. I think it's Friday. The brain's not working real well here. All right. Put that down there. What do you think of that? I look pretty good, Chris. Give me some love, man. Okay, I'm going to put some up here, and I'm going to bring this all the way down the side of this body. So I want this to do the contrasty thing where it kind of goes in the cracks and separates, but I also want to feather out the edge so it looks like it blends perfectly back the other way. So you see, it works really fast. And I would almost say this is faster than airbrushing. It is faster than airbrushing because I can change colors very quickly. And it blends perfectly. All right, I hear the laughing from the peanut gallery, so I know I'm doing something right.
Brian said, "This is really Chris. I think it's looking great."
You know how they have the shirts, I'm the real Slim Shady or whatever? We need I'm the real Chris White. Yeah. Dude, that would be awesome, Chris. You got to do that. I would totally rock that shirt. All right, so we just keep working on this. Again, I'm putting it on kind of heavy. Staying away from this one area because I don't want to make it dark and then try to make it light again. Contrast paints aren't real good at that. So we want to keep it like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go for a little bit deeper shadows right in here. And let's see how this works. Okay, that's teal. Top of this is darker. So we might not be able to do all the dark stuff, but I found that it's easier to do the dark first than try to do the dark second. Because that way we can have the lighter colors go over the darker color and you don't see it. Or you don't see it as much. We don't have to blend as much. And really, this is supposed to be fast, so we're not blending at all. We're just erasing. You can also use your hands to do the erasing, but I find that the second brush just works so good with both speed paints and contrast paints. Friggin' amazing. It's like cheating. It really is. And we'll put a little bit of this over the little horns here, little pinchers, whatever they're called. Spiky bits if you're a chaos player. All right. Then back here on his backside, we're going to go way down here, move our way up, maybe 3/4 of the way, and then feather it out. Do the same thing on the other side. It's really nice when you have big open areas because it just seems like it paints so much quicker. It's when you get like those small areas that kind of got to stop and start that makes it a little bit hard. Okay, we got that. We got to get up here again. So don't feel bad if you hit the same spots a couple times just to get them darker, darker, darker. Unless you don't want them to be darker, darker, darker. Then we'll do the backs of our little smokestacks. So far, I haven't shown you any rocket science, right? Like this is all stuff you guys think you can copy. Except for maybe the airbrushing part. But guess what? We have an airbrushing class on Sunday, so there you go. Or Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I'm a day ahead and a day behind. It's not. Things are not looking up for me.
It's true.
All right. So remember, it's not dark on the bottom side of this arm. It's actually bright yellow. So let's make sure that shadow color sort of stops right in the armpity area. That's what I always tell Liz in the morning when she's putting my deodorant on me. I go, get the pity area. Get the pity area.
Oh my gosh.
You guys don't have someone who does your armpitting for you?
Oh my god.
I'm just trying to see how much crap I can talk before people are just like, no. Dude, we know you don't do that. All right. So go like this. I'm always like, I've already kind of painted this before once. So I've got some insight into where to put this color and where not to put this color, based on past messing up. So like back here, I'm kind of leaving all these areas that are kind of grayed out from the zenithal prime in my stippling. I'm leaving them light, and then I'm just hitting the lower, darker colors or the darker areas only with this Griff Charger Gray, the most amazing color ever made. You can quote me on that. Although I think a lot of colors are amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got that. I also want to do like a preemptive dark lining. So I'm going to hit under these things, the plates, what is it called? Chitlin plate or something? Kitten?
I don't know. Why do you keep asking these questions?
Because I like asking you questions you can't answer the answer to.
You also know I'm like the world's worst when it comes to...
I could be talking to the people who are in the peanut gallery here. That's also a thing.
True.
Okay. So you see I'm starting to define maybe some areas just a little bit. It's always important. Because if you don't define your miniature, it's hard to see it. So whether you spent 100 hours on it or 1 hour or 15 minutes, if it's not well defined, you can't see it. So it doesn't look good. So let's try to get some little bit of definition in here. So I'm just hitting these right behind these big scales. There's already like a little bit of black back there for my airbrushing. So maybe I'm just enhancing that. And then let's see here. I'm going to hit these beautiful toenails. I don't know what to call those either. Are they hooves?
Oh my God.
Liz, I'm actually asking you on this one because you're from the country. Are these hooves or are they toenails on a slasher?
Oh my God. I think they're probably more like hoof and claw things.
Claw
Probably
hooves?
hooves, yeah.
Hoofty claws. Okay. So we're going to do all the hooven claws. Hoven.
Those aren't hooven claws. Those are just
They're hovish claws.
Oh my God.
And then we'll go back
This
up.
is why you don't teach science.
Yeah. And this is why you won the marriage game.
Lucky me.
All right. So, got that. You notice I go back over some areas just like it's kind of for posterity's sake. Not really worrying about blending it because I'm kind of painting down in the areas where it's already super dark anyways. Maybe if I see a spot that's like dipped in or something, like there was a little dip right there, I just put a little bit in there. And sometimes it's hard to figure this stuff out, but the more you do it, the more you start seeing like, oh, it always looks good when I do this. And then you recognize it and your educated guesses get better and better. Unless you're like me and you're a teacher, and then you can change the rules to make your educated guesses look like they were the right ones, but they're actually not. Okay, I did it a little bit dark down here on the other side, so I'm going to do it again on this side. Go even down in here. Now you kind of want to don't mess this part up, because if you do, if you make stuff dark that should have been light, you got to make it light again somehow. So it makes their life a little bit harder. So it's always good to err on the side of caution and just don't do something. That's why most of my armies are not painted at all. It's not because I'm lazy or I just don't have time to paint them. I don't want to make the mistake, so I just don't. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I stopped buying armies because I just don't have the time. And the frogs keep putting out more cool models.
Well, Chris went full. I don't know what the word is for people that know things about like insects. He said, "I know Aaron is just pretending to not know what they're called, but the smokestacks are actually tubular, external, extrathoracic, tracheal spike ripples."
Okay, absolutely no one on earth knew that except for Chris right there, and probably the guy who wrote that lie that he's reading.
I had to really focus and concentrate just to get that out.
That's awesome.
A lot.
All right. So no rocket science, just kind of like hitting areas like they look like little scratches or whatever. Just kind of putting a little bit of that darker color in there. And let's call it maybe right there. I want this part darker for sure. Okay. Whew. There's some little lines, some little details on these claws. These are claws, right, Chris?
Chris, we don't need the like.
Over give the long the long version of everything that I ask you. Like, oh my goodness.
I'm gonna buy you a book on insects.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, Chris actually does some of the painting for the frogs as well. He does an excellent job. I love his work. Did you do all those the ghouls or whatever, those new models that are ghosts? All right. A little bit, and I'll put one more on the eyes because I'm just trying to kind of black the eyes out. And I was smart and I didn't grab any actual black, so we don't need it per se, but several coats of that. All right, so we got our gray on. And we're done. Look, we've got our vampire one. No, actually, okay. Hey, back to the vampire. Where's that card?
He said he did the legendary specters.
Yes, those were really cool. I mean, were you sick of painting green when you got done? Because they're basically all green. But I think that's almost harder than like if you get a whole bunch of colors to paint with. I thought they looked great. So we could do, instead of this darker blue-gray, you could do like a purple, right? So everywhere where the shadows are, and so the shadows would go like that purple would pick up in the gray areas and look more purplish, and then down in the dark areas, it just looks really dark black. So that would be really cool. I'm actually really liking this. I think we're done with this model. How long did that take? 30 minutes? No, I'm not. No, I'm doing this other model. The other model is super cool. And I'm done. Okay, so we got that. Now we got to start putting color on it. This is the super scary part. So I've got this color. This color is awesome. Thunderbird blue. It's kind of a tealish color. So I'll put some of this on my palette. And
he said he also did the Thunder Warrior and Wasteland Ally that they showed from the last 2 years.
Yeah. No, I know you've done more than just those two models, but he did some of the Tradarians too, right? I don't know. Chris has done a bunch of stuff. All right, so we got this. Let me grab the color again. So we've got color all over the face. These front little, I'm going to call those mandibles with a pincher claw on the end. And then we've got a little bit on the shoulder, goes over the back, and then stuff on the smokestacks. Ready? Are you ready, Liz?
I'm ready.
All right. Go! So what I'm going to do is we're going to do the tealy blue on top. Just kind of put it on heavy. And it's okay if it goes over our darker colors because we can always reapply those, or it will just get darker nonetheless. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of the green. And when it gets closer down to the shadow areas, I'm going to go more green. Because I think it looks cool.
Done a bunch of stuff, but they showed those other two during the live stream last night.
Yeah, and I don't want to ask too much stuff because it might be stuff that they haven't shown yet. So it is what it is. But no, Chris is awesome. All right. Chris did a really cool diorama. They actually, I think it probably would have won the painting contest that year, but the frogs actually paid for it, so he couldn't enter it. It's always weird to enter a thing that they're paying you to paint, but that diorama, what was it? The Conquistadors battle, that was so cool. All right. I don't know if you can see it too much. I can see it here live. It's definitely greener down here, more teal up there. That's pretty, oops, that's pretty good. You drop your model. That shows that you care, and it will be probably one of the best paint jobs you've done. Chris knows that one. Okay, we got that. I'm going to do yellow on the chest. I'm actually going to thin this blue down just a little bit so it's not quite as strong, and do that on these parts so hopefully that shows up okay. I might have screwed myself up there. Maybe we just need it solid. Because it will still be see-through, and this is kind of a dark area. Maybe that works better. I'm going to wipe my brush off and just sort of feather the edge around that so it sort of meets into the darker gray that we painted earlier. Very cool. Let's put a little bit more of this, like right over here. I feel like I'm following this picture too closely, but that's okay. I'll stray off eventually. Pictures are nice because if you don't really know what to do, it's a great way to find where to put your colors. You see that? So everything's kind of looking a little bit blended, but we're really not doing any work to blend it. Like if I was doing this with solid colors, I would be doing lots of stippling and glazing and going back and forth and trying to get it just right. And that just takes forever. So good on me. Good on the hobby for coming up with these paints that kind of help speed things along. Okay, so we got that. I need the blue coming down the back. Or the teal coming down the back. Let's just go right to the middle because there's already a little line right there. So I don't like when the paints start drying on me before I am done like getting them on. So if I can have an area where I can kind of stop, that's nice. Okay, we're like halfway down. This time my brush is a little bit wetter than normal, so it's like pulling some of that teal down into the cracks and crevices down here. So sometimes it's funny, instead of dark lining areas, you can light line. That's a term. So it just gives you a little bit more color there. That probably won't show up very much at all, but you see how quick that was? That was super quick. That was awesome. I feel like a nice compliment's about to come up. Probably from Chris, but it might be from someone else. All right. So we get all this. Halfway down. A little bit wetter than normal, so it pulls. You don't want it to be too wet though, because it'll take forever to dry. I had that problem earlier today. I was like, whoa, I went a little bit too crazy. This little spot over here still has a little bit too much white showing through, so I'll just add a little bit more there. A little bit more here. Put these all the way down. Our spires of doom. These are doom chimneys. I just thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got our teal on there. There's a little bit of teal back on the legs. Oh shoot, I'm so tealed out. I forgot about our green. So maybe as it's going down under the chest here, that teal starts turning a little bit greenish. And why am I using green with the teal? Because I was painting a commission years and years, like this was like back at the dawn of the century. And I was painting this teal tag from Infinity, and it was teal, and I was like, oh, what could I do to make this better? And I just put a little green into it, and it looked amazing, so that's why I'm putting teal in now. No other reason. Then I saw it happen on something else, and I figured it would look good. Also, it keeps your color from being too samey. I like my colors to kind of morph from one color to another or have something in them that's not really expected. All right, get that. What else do we got here? Got teal up there. Teal, 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 teal. Might need a little bit more teal here. How long have we been going, Liz?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. So we got
about an hour and 10.
Nice. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll come back and hit areas that look like they're going to be like in a highlighty area and just hit it one more time with some of this teal, sort of very thickly. And I don't think that will mess things up too much. I'm trying not to get it like opaque, but I'm also trying to just get a little bit more teal color in here. This color is amazing. I am glad I got it. Thunderbird Blue. We'll just say it again because it's super awesome. So I was going to, just to show you, I was going to use this color, Aethermatic Blue. This is a great color, but it's so see-through that it would take like 15 coats just to like get something like that, like this color, and I didn't want to do that. So, all right. Okay, so now we'll go, which way do we want to go? Red or yellow? Let's do yellow. They call me Mellow Yellow. Oh, no singing. We started singing on a Twitch stream, and it.
You can sing on Zoom.
Can you?
It's not streaming live.
Sure it is.
It's just a call.
Yeah, but maybe they have an anti-song
Oh
thing.
my gosh.
Anyways, one of my friends started singing a popular song, and it shut us off. I was just like, I'm not sure that's exactly why we got shut off, but it was really weird. They like kicked us out of the call, and then we went back on and finished the call.
He was just too good at singing.
He was too good at singing, yeah.
Chris said, White Lining, is that what that Grandmaster Flash song is about?
Yeah, it's about painting. You didn't know that, did you?
And then Eric said, it's most definitely awesome. That was your compliment you wanted.
Okay, all right. This is the best slasher you guys have ever seen, right? Sure it is, Aaron.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
I don't need any help. I'm freaking old.
I know.
I just out.
Yes, you do.
Although the other day I woke up from a nap and immediately took another nap, and I was like, "Holy cow, what is going on?"
Sick,
And then I got super sick, so that made sense. But all right, so this yellow, I really like this yellow. So this is the GW Bad Moon yellow. It is really good, like really, really yellowy. So Army Painter has their yellow color, and it's very see-through. It's just it doesn't give me this really bright yellow color. So it's better for putting on over this, and then it gives some shadows. So if you're wondering how I would work that, that's kind of it. Use what's best for the thing that you're doing right in front of you. You don't worry about anything else. So we'll do that.
It literally looks like mellow yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, huh?
It's like neon.
Yeah, it's shocking for a contrast paint. Let's put it that way, like that it's that bright. But granted, it wasn't in the first set line that came out. It came out a couple years later. Probably just took them a little bit longer to format it right. So if you notice, I'm trying to brushstroke from the other color or the darker area into my lighter area. So like whatever paint, when I pick up my brush, it just dumps paint in the center section. I think that ends up looking a little bit better. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow back here too. It's dark, but maybe it's just a little bit. And then the feet are very yellow. So let's put a lot back here. So I want you guys. Who else is gonna go play some games and stuff after this, or in any of the other days? Like, are you guys all just painters, or do you actually play? Um, Let me know in the comments. That's what they say on Twitch.
Oh my god.
Listen, chat. All right. I'll do this other sign.
Zach said I didn't sign up fast enough to get any of the games. Brian said I might play a few more.
They do let you just watch, right? Do they still do that? Because I know they switched it last year. I think that would be worth it.
Ron said I paint and play, but more hobby focused these days. And then iPhone says both Super Painter got games tomorrow and Sunday, and then classes with you.
Nice. Well, we don't get to play as much as we like. We've done a family league and stuff like that. I think Shadows of Brimstone is one of the most fun games.
It really is.
Which is funny because I paint for a bunch of different companies over the years. And I can't say I played all of their games. Like, it just, some of them are just like not your cup of tea or whatever. But Shadows of Brimstone, I was pleasantly surprised that it was a lot of fun. And then, yeah, it's been pretty cool. All right, so we got that.
Jeffrey said I play every Thursday, taking a break from IRL games due to roll to move. Eric said that he was also too late to play. Yes, iPhone. You were labeled as iPhone.
It's my old buddy iPhone. Don't say nothing.
Oh my gosh, if I butcher your name, please do not be mad at me. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'm
hardly coherent.
Really terrible at pronouncing names. Is it Panos, maybe? Said it's 4 a.m. here in Greece, so I'll go to sleep after this.
Oh, nice. How's the weather out there? It is cooking out here, buddy.
It is. It was 101 yesterday. And
in Greece?
No, here.
Oh.
And with our heat index, it was like 110. It's bald. Yeah. It's real balmy. It's not
all up in there.
Zach said most of the games are limited seating and only players can attend, but I did watch the live stream of the derelict ship today.
Oh, cool.
Brian said I need to run to the next FFP live stream. Thanks so much for the tips.
No problem.
Bye,
and
Brian.
It will go up on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it later if you so wish. We are recording it. It will go to Flying Frog. It'll be on their YouTube. It'll also be on our YouTube.
Rob also has to run and said this was extremely helpful. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you very much.
John said it was a lot of fun watching the derelict ship games. And it's nice and sunny in Greece.
Very cool.
Okay, now we're caught up.
Liz and I we haven't decided where we're going on our honeymoon or when we're going on our honeymoon, but it will be probably over in the Greece-ish area, so. Because yes. All right. So we got that. And the cool thing is, so it seems like, okay, we did all that work before, and then like for what, right? Well, you can kind of see it through this, the paint, and that's the whole point. So we got that. Now we need, just goes to show you how blind I am. I thought this was orange. It's like more red than orange.
I was about to say, that looks very red.
It looked orange in the dark up on my shelf earlier today.
That makes sense.
So we'll get a little bit of that. And now it's going to get a little bit more difficult, but that's okay. So if it's not difficult, you're not doing it right? So we'll put this on the edge of our yellow and then feather it and feather the other side. And go down here. And the key here is you don't want to be perfect. You almost want it to be not perfect because we are dealing with lobster skin here. And if you have like a couple little flecks in spots or it's a little bit lumpy, bumpy, that's all good. This way. Should have done the yellow side first. You always want to do the yellow side first because that will show all if the paint starts drying too quickly. And since it's been so hot out here, we've got every fan on in the house, including the AC, so paint's tending to dry quicker. And we'll put a little bit up in here. Down here.
His overhead camera is, I don't know what that is. Is it Sony?
I have no clue.
Maybe it's the camera that's right in front of your face.
Okay, hold on.
I can look. You don't have to touch it. Just keep going.
Oh yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, it's Sony.
Sony.
It's
It's not the most expensive camera, but it's definitely not a cheap camera.
Oh, well, I almost sounded like a very old person because I almost said it's a camcorder, but it's a digital video camera. I don't know.
Works pretty good though. I've had it for quite a while. Like pretty much from like 2 or 3 months into our Patreon. It was like the first thing I bought, invested in with Patreon money. I think it was decent investment. Okay, so we're just kind of bringing in that red with the yellow there. Go over here. So one thing you'll find when you're erasing with your second brush, if I put blob my paint on there, I always try to start outside of the paint and work my way into the paint. But then I go in with the tip and then I push down. So the back, like most of the brush is actually on the model, like erasing back and forth. And then I can kind of, work it back in and out. Of course, that paint dried already, but you kind of get the idea. That gives me it's a little bit better erasing action. They call me the eraser. We'll go backside like this. Maybe pull some of that into those crevices there. If you get blue and red and black all in the same spot, it's pretty dark black. So, got that. Let's go down here. And I try not to lick my brush. I'm a brush licker normally. I've been trying to get away from it, but it's very difficult. But with like contrast and speed paints, I tend to only lick my brush if it's a clean brush because it kind of doesn't taste very good, and that's probably not super healthy for you. It's probably not healthy for you when it doesn't taste bad too, but I have the reminder. this.
Zach said I just try not to lick the brush that I use for metallic paints.
Yeah. Then you end up with glitter lips. That's a technical term too, by the way. The old glitter lips. That's what we call it. Back in Nam.
Oh my god. Chris said I only lick my airbrush.
You ever get poked with the needle? Should really be careful there, Chris. I knew there was something about you. So again, there's no real... I mean, I'm kind of putting stuff in where it kind of has it on the card, but then also I'm kind of just putting in areas where I'm like, oh, I think I could squeeze some of that color in there. Go to your home, color. That's what they say. All right, got that. It's coming together a little bit. And we'll do, okay, up in here. Ooh. Going kind of crazy up in here. All right, there you go. If you mess up and there's like little errant, little stray brush strokes or whatever, don't worry about it too much because it will all end up looking like a freaking crab, you know? At the end of the day.
What?
If the colors don't go down super smooth or you kind of see the brush strokies, like I got some brush strokes up here, it's okay because
Oh, I think I messed you up too.
you did.
Oops.
That's all right. That's all right. All right, so we got that in there. And maybe there's, areas of this where I want a little bit more red, or reddish orange. So I can just come back in and add a little bit. I really like the red when it goes over the yellow. Like most of the red that I've done has actually been more over the darker colors. But over the yellow, it makes a really vibrant orangey red. So and then one more side. Holy moly. All right.
You thought you did it.
I knew that that was there. I was just hoping that somehow it would have just disappeared.
Oh.
All right. But actually, it's not too bad. When I did it earlier today, my test one, I did both colors at the same time, and both the yellow and the red. And it was very difficult to keep the speed up. It's hard enough putting one color down, but putting multiple colors down and trying to blend them. And really, it should have been all three colors, so the gray, red, and yellow. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to try it this way. And it's been much easier. All right. Get that in right there. Get this over here. Maybe bump up the color. Bump it up. Sometimes it's finding a good brush angle to come in and wipe away color. I kind of messed that up, but that's okay. I'm going to grab some of my yellow again. Put it on really thick, up right in the center areas. Maybe to make sure that that's good in yellow. Maybe go over the red just a little bit. Yellow is really transparent, so it kind of doesn't leave too many lines. So that makes life a little bit easier. And we'll put some up in here. So the only thing I don't like about speed paints and contrast paints is they take a little bit longer to dry because usually you're putting them on a little bit thick. And so like in a case like this where I'm trying to go fast for a 2-hour class, you just want it to dry faster. But any normal given day, like I'd be doing all 3 of these at the same time. So I would have time for, as I was doing the yellow on the next one, this one would get completely dry. Like the tealy parts are pretty much dry now. So that's perfect. All right. So got that. Okie dokie. Let's start the next step. So again, if you were like, good enough for me, I'm done. That's good for you. You're done. But I always go a little bit further. So I figure on a bigger monster like this, if it takes me 2 hours, 2.5 hours, that's not bad. And if I can get it as good as I can get it in that amount of time, that's awesome. So we're going to do a little bit of dark lining here. So I'm going to kind of bring that darker gray, the Griff Charger gray, into areas like this. I can always use my second brush to feather it out if I kind of go a little bit too much. There's a crack up here, so anyways, I don't want to get too carried away with these details, but I do want to just get it a little bit crisper. Go up here. The easy ones, if you don't want to touch the face, I don't blame you. But back behind like each one of these little plates, back behind the head, it's really easy just to put a line of Griff Charger gray back here. You could also just use another darker color, but I like this one because it's really dark blue gray. And blue is like a recessive color, so it actually appears darker, or it'll make things darker. So the areas that are really dark, that's what I want. I want that blue-gray to make them appear maybe a little bit darker than they actually are. And then I can always, like in areas down in shadows, I can kind of run this right along the lines so that it looks very, very dark.
What brush are you using?
This is a Zim brush. So if you look up Sabot, S-A-B-O-T, miniatures.com, it's a company out of, it's one of my buddy's companies out of Florida. And I think they're $12 a piece. Not entirely sure on that. When I got them, they were $5 a piece. And I was like, holy crap. So I bought a ton of them. They work really well. So they work, I think, just as good as my Raphaels. And for comparison, Raphael size 1 right now is about $24. And this size 2 is $12, I believe. So half the price. And they work really, really good. Like, I don't mind paying $25 for a brush that's going to be a really good brush, you know, like that I can do really good details with. But if I can pay 12, yes.
What size?
This one's a size 2, actually.
So the size 2 is, they're $10.
They're 10?
Yep, they're
Okay.
$10 a piece.
Yeah. So there you go.
Or no, just kidding.
12.
Wait, I'm so confused. So there's two.
I would assume a bigger brush is a little bit more
There's
expensive.
two different series. No,
Uh,
there's multiple series. Oh my god.
oh boy.
There's several different brushes you can choose from that range from like $8 to
Oh, he's got other brushes that are like fat ones and
65.
yeah.
For sets of 65, but like 17.
But the set has like
brush. So
the set has like 5 brushes in it, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So
Either way, there it is a good brush. Brushes are just like paint. They're just like airbrushes. They're like everything else. What I like, you may not like. So I would say pick one or two up, you know, or like if you're at a show, like he's at Adepticon. He's at a lot of historical shows. It's this guy named James Rice. He's an amazing, amazing painter. But he also started a miniatures company. So, anyways, he had these brushes, and one of my other friends. So I always like paint nights, or you know, having a bunch of painter friends, because they can kind of recommend things. Like none of us can buy everything. It's just not feasibly possible. Like one, economically, but two, you know, it's hard to find all these products. But all of us as a group, you know, maybe I go to this. Well, I went into this show and I saw that brush, but I had been told from another friend that he bought from the same show. He had bought one of those brushes or a few of them, and he really liked them. So I was like, okay, if that guy likes them, and he was a display painter, so I was like, okay, he knows what a good brush is, you know, because I hate to say it, but some people think a good brush is a good brush, and it's really not a good brush. So, you know, it all depends on where you're at in your painting journey. That's not to sound too snobby, but it kind of is what it is. You know, it's kind of like a fine wine connoisseur. You know, some people can tell the difference. I can't. You give me a $5 bottle of wine, it's the same as a $1,000 bottle of wine. It's all the same to me. But there are differences in brushes, very stark differences, and so. Anyways, I'm always leery. I'll always try, you know, because I'm always, you know, it's hard to get brushes sometimes these days, and this one's a really good one. So, starting to get, just putting another layer of the darkness in all the cracks and crevices. I did find that the red looks really good in these cracks. So in between the yellow plates. So we'll just kind of section off these with the red. Maybe over here. On his Pinchers of Peril. What movie is that from? Pinchers of Peril. Pinchers of Peril.
I think you just made that up.
I didn't.
It's real.
Yep. Someone's got it. We got a bunch of nerds in here. Somebody's got to know. I think me and Taylor just watched this movie a little while ago.
Oh, The Goonies.
Yeah.
Why don't I remember? And I was there watching The Goonies with you. Thank you very much. That is my movie.
I mean, granted, it's one small spot in the movie, but
Yeah, I don't remember that.
he was like my favorite character in that movie.
He's everybody's favorite character.
Besides Chunk.
True.
Okay. So, kind of got those base colors on. Again, if you're done, you're done. Like, you're like, hey, how far are we now?
We have 40 minutes.
40 minutes. So I've been doing this for an hour and 15 minutes, basically 20 minutes. And I've been talking a lot, so that's not bad. 1 hour paint job. If you're doing a bunch of these, you probably cut it down to 45 minutes a piece, you know? And you got a really cool model. Okay, but we're not going to do that. So, so I'm going to take our teal here, and I'm going to start adding yellow to it. my this yellow. So this is a regular color. And maybe a little, oh, I know what it was. I'm going to add some yellow. So bring it more into the greenish color, but also lighter. So if you want to make a highlight, especially in a color like this, add a little bit of yellow to it, including the white, and it will pop that color pretty well. Let's go. We got a couple shades of this, so a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, just a seam, and maybe I need the lighter color. So I'm just gonna start placing this in. On the upper edges of things. The upper part of his little snostril here, or whatever it is.
What?
Snostril. It's like a nostril, but a snostril.
That's a word.
It is.
John says, do you find that contrast / speed paints play nicely with acrylics?
Yeah, typically. I mean, I don't always mix them together because some colors there's just no need for it. But I figure I actually just tried it with these and they worked perfectly. Like sometimes you put a regular color into it and it will destroy the contrast. You don't see the contrast anymore. But in this case, it didn't. It stayed that tealy green, but it was just lighter. And then adding a little bit of yellow, boom, boom, boom. So you see, I'm just kind of working in some of these highlights here. Now this is another place where you can make decisions. So I'll do the under eyelid here. You could just do the face with highlights and not worry about anything else. Because really, people only look at the face anyway. So you want to play mind games with your players. And we all know, these guys, I mean, they're not easy to kill, but they go on the table and then they come back off the table. So it's like, you got to make the choice on how much time you want to spend on them. But you see the face is looking a little bit brighter there. Let's do up here. These are chimney smokestacks that Chris gave us the really long explanation for. We'll do...
Did you just call them chimney smokestacks again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't remember the Latin words that he gave us, so... So I'm just kind of making little lines here, kind of dotting them in. So it looks kind of like broken up sort of texture there. Go on this side. And I'm really, really trying to break these things up and make sure that, the line, it's not just a straight line. It's like a typewriter. Dot, 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 dot. It's like dotted line there. That looks a little bit more animalistic. Kind of follow the sculpt. Sometimes there's like a crack or something in these and you can kind of follow that. These are actually the old slashers. I think they kind of hold up pretty well. I think they look great. There's the newer slashers too, if you've got those, and they're even better. Upgraded sculpt, all that good stuff. So it's funny. I try to do the main Jargano sets in the newer sculpts, but obviously I didn't do that with this one. And I'm like, I've already painted them. I don't want to paint them again because there's, I still got like 4 other factions, and you can make even more. I mean, they have all these cards, but you can always make up your own color schemes and like either make new rules for them or use the rules from one of these. It doesn't really matter. You see how that's like, it's like breaking up all those smokestacks? And then maybe as I get further down where it gets darker, I'm going to grab some of these darker colors and then I'm going to use a little color theory and put a little bit of red into it to kind of gray it out. Red and yellow are supposed to be, well, this color red and this color teal are actually very much complements of each other, and that's why it went gray rather than like brown or something. But I created a little gray here, and so now these ones that are lower still have a highlight, and it might be the same brightness, but it's a little bit more grayed out, so it won't show up as much. So there's your color theory hack right there. So the highlights down here don't show up as much. Like these are brighter up here because they have more color in them. They're less gray highlights. So if you're wondering why your highlights don't pop good, it's usually because there's not enough what's it called? Color in them, saturated color. And a little bit goes a long way, especially if the rest of the model's super desaturated. But in this case, there's a lot of saturation all over this model. So do that, and then I'll grab some of my gray for the lower areas. And just kind of, if I was doing this for like the box art or something, I might spend a little bit more time making these lines perfect. But on this, no big deal. Just kind of get some lines in here, get some texture going. Switch back to my more saturated highlight. And go up here a little bit more. We can put some of that, maybe we'll do more of the tealy instead of the yellowish color. And we'll put it right on the back of the head. Just kind of give it, like that's where the plates end. So they, I don't know if they're highlighted so much as like it just helps it show up better. And then we'll go over here. We'll go down here. We'll do, I'm just kind of putting some dots in here so that these bottom sections get all dotty. Dotty, dotty, dotty. I'll just mix some crazy color. It's all the colors we've been using, so it should be okay in theory. So we'll put those little dots in here, some little dots over here. The quality of your paint job will be relative to the amount of time you spent on the paint job. So obviously, if you spend 2 hours, like I'm doing, it's not going to be nearly as good as if you spent 10 hours or 60 hours, or you spent the last 3 months of your life painting a single fig like some people do for Golden Demons. That's the difference. So get some of this gray again. I'm just kind of like making up. In some areas, I'm actually hitting areas that could be highlighted, but in other areas, I'm just kind of making up little streaks and dots and dashes and stuff, so it just kind of looks cool. Give me a little bit more interest in some areas. Okay, got that. I'm going to put a couple little highlights down here. Put some up here.
Brian's headed out. He said, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Got all those. Let's do again. Some of these areas. Let's put. So down here, this is a darker area, but I want it to kind of show up. You know, from the sides you can see it. So we'll put a little bit on here, and then if we need to, we can tone it down with some of that Griff Charger gray. again. Put that up there. Do these sides over here. We'll get this all up in here. We'll do the leading edges of these. It's not the most chiseled detail right here, but you can make it look a little bit more like there's more detail there than there actually is. That's part of painting. I mean, a lot of stuff from pretty much all of the top painters paint stuff on the models that aren't actually there, or they enhance things on the models, you know, to make them look better or to kind of go away. Cool. Got that. Grab our yellow again. This yellow is really strong. I like it. So we'll do that with some white. I mean, not white, pale yellow. Here we go. I'm just kind of dotting it in up here, and then maybe having like some little yellow lines come down in the red. So that shows up really well. That's one of the reasons I'm doing it. And it kind of makes things a little bit more interesting. We'll go up here. Over here. Get all that. So I'm trying to hit more in areas that I think could possibly be a highlighty area, or something that helps define an edge. Something like that. There we go. And if you notice, like when we put just the yellow over some of these areas, it went over it, but then it just got dark again because it's basically see-through paint. But since we've got that little bit of pale yellow in there, it keeps its color, which is nice. A little bit more opaque. The neat thing is you could do this, like I'll probably do this and I'll probably take these, in fact, I most definitely will take these to Gen Con this year, and I'll just touch them up, you know, and make them a little bit better. So that's usually what I do with my models, because I don't have a lot of time to paint for myself, so it is what it is. And I'm trying to make these lines not just straight lines, or even lines, they're kind of splotchy. Like that a little bit. Then we'll get some areas when I'm painting for myself where I will skimp a little bit. Is like, no one's going to look at the bottom side of these arms. So I really, you know, even from the back, most times the bad guys are coming towards you in the game. So if you wanted to just skip like detailing out those areas, like I think that would be totally fine. And we'll get a little bit blotchiness up here. And we'll do, we can do this like really bright right here, right at the bottom where that comes out, and then edge that thing.
onto YouTube?
Yeah, both the frogs YouTube. It'll be on the Miniature Monthly YouTube in a day or two. But it will definitely be on the frogs and on ours. So there will be multiple. In fact, on our YouTube, we have all the. In fact, I think I have a playlist. So any flying frog videos that we've done, we'll put in that playlist and. La di da. So what's funny is I can put this texture on again. I could even come back and take the sponge and put more texture back on. And sometimes that's kind of fun because then you can it covers up some of what you did with the speed paints, with the contrast paints, and it creates a more dynamic looking paint job. Like you don't, it's getting harder and harder to tell how you painted it, and that, but without taking forever. Like that's the key. Thing is, I've really not, other than I didn't prep this model very well. I could have done a better job on that. Other than that, I have not done anything that would keep me from like turning it into a box art one day if I wanted to. So that's like, it's a good position to be in, especially if you're like you're aspiring display painter or you are a display painter, but you also want to get your models done. Painting gaming figures is a great way to practice. And if we're learning color theory here, we're learning how to get colors on the model in a pleasing way, making textures, all that stuff. And then the next step would be just spend the next 40 hours cleaning everything up and making it just perfect. But for your games, I mean, all of these models are going to be from 3 feet away. So it really doesn't matter how super detailed you get because it's just not going to show up. Make some more of this gray. It's like a grayish purple almost.
Pano said, I need to sleep now. Thanks, Aaron. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Sleep well.
All right. Oh, we can do a little bit of this down here on the claws. And we'll just pick out some of the details to put a little highlight on. I can even add a little bit of the yellow. Sometimes this crab shells like stuff, it's a little bit shiny, so you can put a very small amount of a really really light color, and it kind of looks like it's sparkling. You don't want to do it everywhere because you lose the effect, but maybe we put it on a couple of these, like there's just stuff glistening in the sun. And then we'll do some little scratches. Again, I'm pressed for time here, but if you take a little bit more time, you'll be a little bit more, have a little bit more dexterity with your brush. Get this like that. And I'm really, really, really trying not to rub paint off model. What do you think? It's starting to come together.
It looks great.
Compared to the heart attack I had earlier in the day, But I'm glad I did it because I would have been having a heart attack on camera. Just, so basically what I'm doing here is what a lot of people call a sketch. Just kind of getting colors on, getting them in hopefully the right spots, but doing it in a really fast way so that I don't waste too much time. And, all right, so we got that. Let's do... What should we do? What does number 2 do? This top part's supposed to be really dark, but maybe we'll put a little bit more of that. I'm going to grab our darkest color again. And now that we've got our highlights and stuff placed in here, I'm going to put some of that in spots and wipe it away. And it starts darkening some of our highlights just a little bit. So this will kind of give us a little bit more shape to some of the areas. Boom, 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 like that, like this. I'm going to put a little bit more on top of here, just darken that up. Might feel kind of weird to have a really dark area right on top where there should be a highlight, but sometimes that's the color of that thing, and you need to keep it fairly dark so you can see everything good. So I think that's looking pretty cool. Put some more up in here. I kind of like the way the Griffin Charger gray looks over the yellow. It makes like a weird dark yellow color. So this is a good time now that we've got yellow on it to bring some of that back up over it. You see, if you're just patient, you can make something really cool. Part of this is practice too, because you won't get any better if you don't practice. So like that. So you see I put those highlights on, and then I'm putting this back over it, and it tones them down just a little bit. And I think it ends up looking pretty cool. Let's go. Maybe a little. A few more lines up here. That, like, it's just the way this plated armor on the face kind of has little things that catch the light a little bit brighter. We'll go up here. Over here. Where am I going? Oh. There we go. Maybe we'll put a little bit. So we can always thin our paint down just a little bit. That might have been too much, but whatever. You work with what you're given, right? We'll put some little dots. Yeah, that's way too watered down now. Gosh darn it. You know, best laid plans. Like, you know it's bad when you put the paint on the model and it just goes...
Mm-hmm.
There it goes, all gone. So let's put this on right here. We've got, I almost see like some little dots in the sculpt, so I'm gonna, maybe they're actual dots, maybe they're just from where I did all my stippling. And we'll just keep adding a little bit as we go, a little bit lighter, more yellowish color. And put it over here in the eye. Maybe right back here. That goes up a little bit. I feel like I covered everything too much over here. I try not to go too much back and forth. You know, like do something, cover it up, do it again. But in this case, you know, sometimes like you have to, it's a little bit of back and forth. But I feel like we've gone pretty linear on this paint job. Like everything, you know, it's been one step after the other, and each one adds to the last. So start getting all these little details in. And again, I could do this for a long time, but one, you guys don't have a long time, and I certainly don't. How are we doing time-wise there?
You have 13 minutes.
13 minutes?
Correct.
We're always cutting it as close as we can. Okay, what do you guys think? That looks, I don't know. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but this is the best thing you've ever seen. I already know it. I'm going to take a thing from the book of Chris White and just say, it's the best thing you've ever seen. Came out pretty cool, though. Like, I'm actually, for how fast, not bad.
Oh, you gotta black out his eyes.
Yeah, I don't have black. That's the problem.
At all?
No.
Wait, how are we fully out of black paint?
We're not out of black paint. I never put it on my desk.
Oh, I'll go grab it.
Okay, go grab it. I'm going to try to make it with teal and red and green.
Will you do that?
I don't know. I don't think this teal and red and green is going to make black. Here we go.
Look at that.
Dum, dum, dum. The black, satin black. This is my favorite black because it's a little bit shiny. And a little bit shiny makes things darker. It's also another reason I like putting this kind of heavy in the shadows because it does dry a little bit shiny, just a touch. And yeah, works out pretty good. I'm just going to put this in that color we mixed because why not? So it'll be like a purplish black. It's always cracks me up that the eyes of these things are just black, like my soul. I remember the first time I painted these. I'm like, what color do you want me to paint the eyes? And he's like, well, the concept art is just black. And I was like, what? These are going to be the easiest eyes ever. And guess what? They were. Black. Like my soul. All right, so we got that right there. I'm going to put a little line in front of there so it just gives a little bit more detail. We'll put
Ale satin.
Oh yeah.
That's
that's pretty good.
All right, Chris. That was Chris.
So I'm gonna make a gray here with yellow. Okay, it's like greenish gray. Good to go. And we're gonna just do some streaks here for his toenails. He's been going to the toenail shop and he's like, they're really cool. We'll do these ones up here. do these a little bit more simple. It'll be like one big highlight. So they're like really dark toenails with a highlight down them. Put it right here. Where else do we have? Oh, back here. This is how I make ropes. So I make this yellowish gray, maybe a little bit more gray, and then I just start adding white to it. And it makes a lighter and lighter kind of rope color. And I can add more yellow to that if I want it to look older. Okay, so we got that. Oh, that being said, let's make a much lighter color. So this will be our other highlight on this, on our toenails. And the colors aren't even dry yet. That's okay. It'll help them blend, right? That's what I tell myself.
What kind of magnification do you use?
Right now, I think I'm wearing 3x reading glasses. And I'm still blind as a bat. Shoot. See that right there? Totally wiped off. So let's just fix that ish. So yeah, if I'm doing eyeballs, it's like 8x, or I have these ones that are 12x that go up to 23x, which is ridiculous. I don't really think they're worth it, but eyeball number 1. So just kind of put a little bit more paint on the brush than I think I need, so that it makes like, I can just put a little dot there with the tip of my brush. Let's try that again. If the tip of your brush starts drying out, it's good just to reload your brush, because otherwise you're going to fight it. Kucha! Look at that. Okay, so I did get a little bit of a red streak right here, so I'm going to call that a mistake, an oopsie.
Happy accident.
That will turn into a scratch. Maybe like that. Ah! All right. That looks pretty cool. Oh, let's finish our highlights on our toenails. If you don't have a brush that does a really fine point, maybe you don't worry about doing super little fine lines on your toenails, but I've got a brush that can do it, so. But even then, I'm not super trying to make them perfect. All right, so we got that. We got those up there. Oh, we need the ones right up here. All right. I think we actually finished this guy. It's unbelievable.
While you're showing that off, or right after you show that off, can you go back over all of the colors that you've used?
No, that's the only thing I'm not able to do.
Chris requested it.
Okay.
So you have to do it.
He's going to steal my soul.
He might steal your soul.
And that's okay. That's okay. I don't care. Joke's on you. Liz is like, yes.
There's not much left.
There's not much left. I think this is the first time on Roll to Move I've actually done a Thursday class. I can't remember from years back.
I don't remember.
I don't either. Let's do. It's going to do little dot highlights on these little, I don't know what they are. They're the mini chimneys. They're smaller chimneys.
I like the way you say chimney.
Chimney?
No, you pronounce...
Chimney?
Yeah,
you
pronounce
chimney.
like everything.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm a pronunciator.
iPhone says, what do you mean? It's Friday.
It is Friday. Yeah. Thank you guys for taking your first day of, the weekend to watch me slap paint all over this model. You can take the just as a final once over. Maybe take the yellow and reapply it over the yellow areas. And that will kind of soften, maybe some of the marks that you did. You don't need to. Maybe it also adds a little bit more yellow pigment there in the bright areas.
We have a question from Eric. Besides the time limit, when do you know when to stop detailing?
So a lot of times if I'm doing my own models, I will give myself like, okay, it's Sunday, I'm watching football, and that's all I have. So if I get to the end of the day and I don't have all three of these slashers done, I'm screwed. So, I'm not screwed. I can obviously come back to them, but I really, really do try to keep that in mind. So what I do is I paint like a bat out of hell at first. and then, I get most of the base colors on and kind of get it, looking okay. And then I go, okay, how much time do I have left in the day? Okay, I got 3 hours or I got an hour, whatever it is. And I just come back and I start adding more details. And then that way, when I run out of time, I just walk away. Because I'm like, I kind of already have things to the, in the first few hours, I have things to the point where I'm okay with it, and now I'm just making it better with whatever time I have left over. So that's how I normally work that. On commission stuff, sometimes it doesn't work out so well. Like you say, oh, I'm going to, you charge for 12 hours and it takes 15. Well, you're working a few hours for free, So that's also a good way of not doing that because, you do that a few times and you're like, oh, it was really hard to pay the bills this month. Well, yeah, because I was painting for free most of the month. So you just start getting good at using your time better. As far as like just knowing when to stop, that's a really hard thing. I mean, is any paint job ever really done? But sometimes you just have to walk away. Like you're like, all the colors are on. I've got a base on it. 2 people have said it looks nice online. Of course, I paid them to do that. And yeah, I think I'm done. So part of it's just a little bit of self-control because you can just keep painting. I've actually had paint jobs, especially when I was like first learning how to paint. And, you get to a certain point in the paint job and you're like, oh, this looks amazing. And you just keep going and then you ruin it. I've actually done that. You post something on Facebook and you get a whole bunch of likes for it. And then you post the finished version of it and there's like no likes, because you ruined it before you got done. That's always the worst. So I have done that many times. It's not uncommon. So part of it is just, learning to be okay with like, okay, it's finished. It's just done, If you have a significant other, maybe, fill them in beforehand and be like, okay, at this time today, you come by and you're like, wow, that looks amazing. Are you done? And then you say yes, regardless of where you are in the paint job. Just sort of, lie to yourself a little bit. All right, how's the time?
You're at 10.
Right at 10 o'clock?
Yep.
All right. I can't believe it that I finished that. So now we're going to spend 4 more hours finishing the other 2. Let's go. This is the one I started earlier in the day. So, a little bit different pose. Arms forward but out, and this one's arms back and out. But I think it looks a little bit different. Obviously, I didn't get to this side, but it's close. And what I can do is come back in. I did a little bit brighter highlights on this one, so I could do that on this one too. And if you notice, it's mostly just on the face. So if I came back here and just grabbed really light yellowish green and kind of gave some final highlights on things, maybe that gives me the exact same look as it was on the other one. Or I could knock down the highlights on that other one that I did. So one way or the other, it's getting done. But if you see, this is just a little bit here. Now it looks a little bit closer. So pretty easy to, well, I won't say easy, but it's all doable. So there you go.
Yay!
All right. So that was it. First class over. I want you all to run to your next thing or whatever and just make sure the frogs know this was the greatest painting class of your life. Now, I really do hope that it helped a little bit. Oh, Chris, you want to know the colors. So, I got to put my glasses back on or I'm not going to be able to see anything. Okay, so there was a black and white zenithal prime. And if you remember, I did my zenithal prime, so like I have actually like, the undersides are primed with white instead of the top on certain areas. So anyways, I primed it to look like I wanted it to look. And then I used bold titanium white from Procryl, bright warm gray. And I kind of used these all in conjunction with each other when I was doing the stippling with the sponge. Bright pale yellow, that's a really good color. And then I dry brushed and stippled some more with the bright pale yellow basically. And then for the shadow was contrast Griff Charger gray. It's amazing color, amazing. And then the teal parts were speed paints, Thunderbird blue, with a little bit of the contrast hex wraith flame. I can't talk either. Friday. And then the yellow was Bad Moon yellow. And the red was, and that was contrast as well. And then the red was contrast Magmaroth flame. And then I used a little bit of black. Yeah, those were the colors. And basically all my highlights came from the contrast paint, adding the bright pale yellow or white into it. And then I made the gray with the Thunderbird blue and the Magma Roth flame and some white. So that made me a good enough gray to get by and do my darker highlights. So had I had the blackout, I might have used that. I don't know. But the thing is, like using all those colors and kind of coming up with other colors from those colors, help keep your color palette homogeneous, like it's not like you don't have colors coming from left field or anything. It was kind of like on the toenails, I did that sort of grayish, yellowish gray color, and it looked a little bit off. So I took the Griff Charger gray and just kind of put it around the outside edges and kept it off the top. And so it kind of ties it in with the rest of the paint job. So that makes it pretty easy at the end of the day. So if I were to do some more on this, which I probably will, I think at Gen Con this year, I always paint my own stuff at Gen Con because I can do it faster and it looks neat and people seem to like it. I'm going to have all my slashers that I have done so far, and then I'm going to bring all my Hellbats because I have a whole bunch of different kinds of Hellbats in different color schemes. But I'll probably spend some more time on these, and what I'll do is I'll go back with some airbrushing. Maybe I'll show a little of that airbrushing on Sunday as well, but I'll come back with airbrushing and I'll airbrush some of the contrast colors, especially the Griff Charger gray, like from below and in the shadows, like anywhere that I want to make my dark areas a little bit darker, I'll use the airbrush to kind of accentuate that. And maybe that helps fix crappy blends a little bit too. It's nice doing slashers because if you have bad blends, it kind of looks right? You know, it looks like a crab. It looks like the Krusty Krab, you know? So anyways, that's how that will go. And yeah, this will be my third squad of slashers done. And I think 4 come in the box. I don't know, 4 or 5. I can't remember. But yeah, so I got a bunch of slashers. Anyways, any final questions for people? Otherwise, I will let you run off, do whatever you're doing. And I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah.
And Saturday.
Yeah, tomorrow and Saturday.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll taco.
Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the international sign for cutting it. Cutting it off. All right. Stop recording.